speaks in sound. Well, I'll be back with the night of beer, then shotgun shells in my bandolier, cotton stands and dirty boots. I'm writing out my last good tune. Take a sip, spit it out. I got a slam in this fucking man's mouth. Take a sip, spit it out. It's just down the burn in this mountain man's.
We left off yesterday and we were talking about things that happened to us while we were down, just down the road from where we are now, here in Saltport, and we got to see, my wife saw possibly 3 little ones, and I saw a big female, and then we had the big male come around and stomp his foot, and then we heard him walk around and go across the gravel we were at last night, and then go along the side of the road and do a kind of a growly type look. And then the big female that we had seen on Friday night, she answered him from out the road from where we were at last night. We went out and did a little investigation. And the same foot stomp we heard last night was the same one we heard 2 or 3 weeks ago.
It was the same one, probably.
But the Bigfoot up here don't seem to be really aggressive, and that's a good thing. There's not a lot of reports of them being aggressive around here, unless you get out to some of the farms, and they're there, grabbing chickens or cows or whatever they got there for livestock. Then they seem to get aggressive and get possessive, I believe. And it's a lot different around here because they deal with people all the time because it's a campground. It's a state forest, and they see a lot of hunters every year. They see a lot of people walking trails and stuff like that. They see a lot of people in this area, and they don't get aggressive because they know there's people around a lot throughout the year. A lot of the things reports that you get around here are just people seeing them. People getting, screamed at, or whatever you want to call it. They don't stand there and growl at them or chase them or run them down or anything like that. They just don't do that around this area much.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reports of aggression in here, but not very many. But one of the things that, you had a long talk when we was driving over there and back. And the reason that I reach out to so many different people is because, like I was telling you, sooner than later these things are going to come to light. And it's not going to be the government. It's going to be one of us bringing the information out. A video that you can't dispute. You can't fake it. Cameras are getting better. Phone cameras are getting better. And, the proof is there. And there's an easy way to prove that they're there. Like I was telling you last night. Somebody go out and kill one. But then you got the problem of dealing with the rest of the clan. And then you got the problem of the government wanting to keep it quiet. And those two things, and you're in the very middle. That's kind of a rock and a hard place to be in. And, sooner than later, somebody's going to end up killing one of these things, and the government ain't going to keep it quiet. And it's going to come out, and they're going to see that it's, an 8, 9, 10 foot tall Bigfoot. It's a male. They got aggressive and did something to someone that was prepared. And I feel it's our job as Bigfoot researchers to let people know not only can they be docile towards humans, just interactions of, you know, people seeing them, stuff like that. They can also be very aggressive. And a lot of people look at that, and then when it comes to, well, I don't want to hear about it. I don't believe that. You know, I've heard too many reports of, well, these people were feeding the Bigfoot, or these people were, you know, going into this area, and this Bigfoot was always, you know, nice to them. Well, yeah, that can happen, and it does happen. But there's always those types of Bigfoot that are not nice, are not, don't want to have the interaction with humans and take aggressive measures, or will chase a person down. And next thing you know, that person's missing 411. And, you know, if you go out hiking, I don't care if it's here, I don't care if it's out west, you've always got to be prepared. There's more than just a Bigfoot out there that you got to worry about. There's other cryptids in this world. And you still got bears, you still got mountain lions, you still got all those predators. And a Bigfoot and the other cryptids can be a predator. They know the ground better than we do. I hunt back home on my brother's property, and I know that property intimately. But at night it changes. We've heard a bionic turkey on my brother's property. And when I say a bionic turkey, I'm talking about a hen that yelps 30 or 40 times in a row. Turkeys don't do that. Even if they're sitting on nests, they'll yelp 5-6 times and then quit and listen for an answer. A turkey that yelps 30 times in a row, the same tone, no inflection, no nothing, is not a turkey. And a lot of people just don't understand that Bigfoot can imitate all the creatures that are in the woods. But there's one telltale sign. It doesn't have any inflection. A Bigfoot doesn't inflect on her notes. Even when a Bigfoot tries to sound like an owl at night, it's hoo. There's no inflection in that. And, you know, in a turkey, a hen calling, the same thing. You know, it's a yelp or a cluck, and it's the same note. And they'll imitate those creatures to get those creatures to come to them, or to get close or give up their position. And they'll do it because they're hunting. But when you're in the woods and you're out there hunting for turkeys in the spring, or you're out there in the fall hunting turkeys, or deer hunting, or going, you know, bird hunting, and you hear that bird that you're after, or that game animal that you're after, and it's the same time, don't go to it. Leave it alone. I've had hunters in quite a few different states contact me over the years and saying, yeah, I saw this huge, tall, hairy thing. It sounded exactly like a hen turkey calling, and it's fall turkey season, or they hear a male turkey whenever they're in the spring, they'll cluck a lot. But it's spaced out, and it's a deeper cluck, but there's still inflection. And I was going to this because I thought it was a male turkey, and it's springtime, and then you hear a gobble that's on the other side. Well, that Bigfoot that they walked up on or happened to cross paths with was going to that gobbler, and the reason they were sounding like a gobbler is to get the other gobbler to gobble, and get them to sound off, you know, where they can pinpoint where they are and tell the direction of where they're going. And he was hunting that turkey because turkey are a pretty stupid bird. I mean, you have to be pretty dumb at night to hear a thunderstorm, stick your head up and drown yourself. So, you know, they can imitate all these creatures. They imitate white-tailed deer. And they imitate black bears in the mating season in the spring for bears. And they'll imitate a sow to get a male bear to come in and they'll kill it. You know, a bear's a lot of meat. But people just, the way you put your videos out, you show the evidence of what you find. And you also tell people you gotta be wary of what you look for. And that was the reason I contacted you, because you know that you can't trust it. I was telling you last night about the lady in Indiana that we went to the Indiana Bigfoot conference they had, and was telling us that, you know, she's been feeding this Bigfoot for 10 or 12 years, wasn't it? And then, you know, 6 months later she's calling me and she's got trouble. That's never a good thing to get, you know, because she got sick. She can feed this Bigfoot 2 or 3 times a week. And when she couldn't feed anymore, you know, it took it as an insult. And when they get insulted, they're like a 2 or 3 year old throwing a temper tantrum. You take their favorite toy away, and that's bad. And she needs a little shade.
That sun's coming in there, isn't it?
But, you know, 6 months after I told them, you know, calls me and tells me she's got trouble with Bigfoot that she's interacted with for 12 years. They don't take insults at all. I mean, when you're in, you know, we have military, and our military is not, you're not conscripted in. You know, it's volunteers that go into the military. And we have a set of rules for military conduct. Personnel to act a certain way. And these Bigfoot have the same thing. But theirs is a lot more harsh. A big male will walk up and if one of the other males in the clan, one of the beta males, does something wrong, he reacts quickly and harshly to everything. I mean, that's his job. He's supposed to keep the clan together. They're supposed to do things a certain way so it protects the clan. It's not just, he's not just worried about his protection. He's big enough he can take care of most things in the woods. He can take on a grizzly bear or a black bear and win. But there's more than just him in that clan. There's the alpha female. And then you got beta males and beta females. And you got the little ones that run around. The little ones are like our kids. You know, they do some of the dumbest things in the world when they're 3, 4, 5 years old.
Yeah.
And theirs are the same way. You know, they grow faster than we do. But you got to remember, they reach heights 9, 10, 11, 12 feet. Typically in this part of the U.S. You know, so they have to grow just a little bit faster. But they don't have the same, they have the same mentality a kid does. You see one that's 3 foot tall, that's a kid. You see one that's 4 foot tall, that's still a kid. Until they reach probably the 5 or 6, you know, height and feet, they're still little kids, 12, 13 year, 14-year-old kids. And once they get to that 7-foot stage, you know, they're almost they're an adult, or they're pretty close to being an adult. And you know, it took me 30 years to figure all this out. Not only from my investigation, and not from what I saw, but from other people that I've spoken to over the years, and from, you know, my mentor, the one that taught me what to look for, where to go, to look at a map and look at a topo map and be able to tell you, well, Bigfoot are going to be in this drainage, or Bigfoot are going to be over in this hollow here, or they're going to be on the ridge top at this time of day. And he could do all that because he'd been doing it for 40 plus years. And, you know, I lost him. You know, fairly, only after only being with him for about 5 or 6 years. And, you know, that, I think that hindered me a little bit on, but it also showed me their aggressive side. That they don't, there are Bigfoot out there that look at us like we're food. And because of that instance, you know, I started getting into going out and helping people with Bigfoot that were coming up and looking in the windows at night, scaring the daylights out of the little lady in the house, and coming up and staring into kids' windows, you know, watching them sleep at night, and smacking the house, and killing the family pets, turn them into meals, you know, and killing the chickens you got out there in the chicken coop, and, you know, killing the milk cow that you got out in the barn that you haven't milked in 10 years because you just don't do it anymore. But you had the cow because the kids liked it. Or they had a horse, you know, and all of a sudden that horse doesn't come in one morning from being out in the field all night. It don't come to the barn to eat. Then you go out and find the horse with its head turned completely around. You know, things like that, to us, I mean, that hurts our kids. And that upsets them. I mean, you know, the kids are going to be crying over their pet horse getting killed like that. And people would call me, you know, what do I do? What do I got to do to get, why was this done? And 99% of the time, it's because we didn't know they were there. We never, you know, to most people, Bigfoot is a joke. There's, you know, there's no proof of it, according to what the government tells you, or what scientists that are paid by. We were talking about, you know, Bigfoot turning a horse's head around, and it affects our kids. And I got phone calls about that all the time, and I used to do it all the time, you know, and trying to help people that just didn't know what they were into. And a lot of times when you get there, they change something on how they were living, or you know, they change something on the farm. They move their grain out of a certain area, or they move the dog food out of a plastic trash can into a metal something, and the Bigfoot get upset about it, and they take it out on something there. The first thing they see could be the family, you know, the kids' horse that they ride once a month, once a week, or whatever. And they just throw a temper tantrum. They act like a 3-year-old kid you took their favorite toy from. And it's always, and when something like that happens, it's not the betas that are going. It's not the young males. It's not the little males, you know, or females. It's not a female. It's that big, huge alpha male that walks around, looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger on steroids. And it's them that do that. And they do it because to them, you stepped on their toes. Someone in his clan's toes, his family. And people nowadays, it's just like people today. I mean, you do something to someone's family and you pretty much find out real quick about it. But we as human beings, we take them to court. Bigfoot don't do that. They don't take you to court. Their court has already been decided the moment you do it. He has one sentence that he deals out to everybody. It's a physical threat. And to take a full-grown horse and turn its head, break its neck, and turn around backwards, he's showing his strength to you, to tell you, you did something wrong, and I don't like it. And then this is my action against your action. And I don't do that nowadays anymore, very often. If it's a bad situation, yeah, I'll go do it because they need help. But if Bigfoot comes in and does something simple like staring in your windows or scaring the wife or whistling at the wife when she comes out the door or something, I'm not going to go deal with it. I'm going to call somebody like you and say, hey, just go over there and shoot the gun off 4 or 5 times right at dark and yell at them and say, hey, you come in this yard, you're going to get shot, you're going to die. They understand English. They understand our language. They have their own language, but their language is our language plus, German or French or whatever was predominant in that part of the country at the time when this country was settled by the white people. And it's the American Indian. There's the Sierra Sounds, everybody talks about the Sierra Sounds. Well, if you take the Sierra Sounds and slow them down 10 times, you start hearing the English words in it. You hear the English language. You might hear French. You might hear Native American. You might hear Spanish. It just depends on what that Bigfoot clan
If you suffer from diabetes type 2 or pre-diabetes,
I am so
this
sorry.
might be the most important video you ever
You're all right.
just
Oh
push.
my gosh. I know, but it's just, I'm so sorry.
But, when it's a bad investigation, when it's something bad, yeah, I'll go help. But I'm going to leave her home. We go to my buddy's place to investigate the Bigfoot on his property. And we go out there and sit, talk, and eat. They build a little fire and eat over top eat food, potatoes, steak, whatever else we throw together and then have a good time together. And I've noticed a lot because he's a minister also. And I'm a minister. We start talking about things in the Holy Bible, talking about Jesus Christ and things that were done back in, Noah's time or Moses' time or Job or any of the saints that are in the Holy Bible. Is when we get the most action. And they can understand our language. They have to be able to understand us to know that we're talking about, God. And they tend to come in closer just to sit there and listen to us talk. Now they know there's a certain distance that they're allowed to come to.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a certain distance he lets them come to. If they get too close, that man carries a 10 millimeter on his hip. And when I'm there, I've got a 40 on my hip and I've got my AR, and she carries a 357. If I have to fire a gun because they got too close, there's a world of lead coming their way because that man is going to start emptying clips. You don't take chances. They caused, a young one caused his mother to have a heart attack one night because it scared her to death because she had went to bed and come up and smacked the side of the house. Not just once, but 5 times as fast and hard as it could. And that Bigfoot ran off. And when he went out the front door, he saw it running off, and he poured lead at it. And it fell. And the big male come running over and grabbed a hold of it. He was emptying his shotgun. And he went to grab one off his hip, and the big male grabbed it up and took off running. And he's had a Bigfoot clothesline itself in a metal cable that he had it 10 foot in the air. Not just 3/8. I'm talking 1-inch steel cable wrapped around 2 huge oak trees, and it clotheslined itself. And things like that. They do stupid things just like we do. They make mistakes, and that's why people get to see them. And walking through the woods, or they don't hear you. If it's a windy day, you can walk up on them. If it's a wet, rainy day, you can walk up on them. You can catch them in their little bed, like somebody I know that went and laid down in their bed, which was a big no-no. And things like that happen. You can get close to them, but don't try to get close. If you make the mistake of walking up on one, yeah, it's good for you to see it, but it'd be better if you didn't, because your world changes, and people don't know that. My world changed at 16 years old, and the first time you seen one, it changed you. Now you're in the part of going out and looking for them and wanting to find what they're doing and want to find out what they want to eat. And I tell people all the time, don't do it, because it changes your life. There's a lot of weekends I could have spent home with my kids. There's a lot of weekends I could have spent home with my wife and been around and done things with them. But I had to go and find out. Humans are inquisitive, so are they. And until they figure out that, it's okay to watch us from a distance, just don't come where we can see you. Or where we have to have a glass pane between us. That's a no-no to us. Staring in your window at night is a big no-no. If another human being's doing that, they may get shot and killed. Especially if you're looking in one of my kids' windows when they were little, you'd got shot. And they do stuff like that because they don't understand the way our society is set up. They have their own society. They have their own way of thinking, own way of doing things. And it's the same with us. It's two different societies butting heads against each other all the times. And that's where they come up and watch us through the windows and watch kids playing around the yard.
Those I still have curiosity.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially when your kids are 7, 8 years old. And they come in, can we go play spot boy? And you're in a rural setting. My first reaction is tell them no. Because I know what's out there, and I know what can happen to a kid. A kid can get grabbed on these things and pass out instantly from fear. Even adults do it. But whenever it comes to one of them, walking up and grabbing a kid, they may walk up and pick up that kid because they think it's fun to watch them and want to take them back to the rest of the clan. Well, this kid's going to be constantly scared and screaming. That's going to bring men with guns. And it's no question what they're going to do. They're there to get that kid back alive. And if that kid is scared and screaming, these men are coming, and they're coming hard, and they're going to be running. And the first thing they see that's around that kid, they're going to shoot it to kill him. And a lot of people will end up hurt. A lot of Bigfoot will end up hurt. But stuff like that happens it's happened throughout time. Even when we were settling in this country, it happened. And it still happens to today. But people just don't know and don't pay attention that they're there. And to them it's, it's something fake. But that's the worst thing that's the worst attitude to have when you go out here and go hiking. Because if you don't, alright, California is really known for, here in the last few years, mountain lions are attacking. Okay, well, mankind used to hunt mountain lions in California. Used to hunt bear in California. Well, they took that right away from the people, and that kept the predators at bay. Bigfoot know we have guns, but they also know what a gun looks like. They also know what a camera is. They know what a cell phone is. They know that it's got something on them that anything you pick up and hold like this, or you hold like this, they believe it's a gun, it's a firearm. That scares most of them. But there's types out there that just don't care. Shoot me 20 times, I don't care, I'm still going to kill you. You're going to be dinner. Just like human beings. People that have bad intentions in mind don't care if you got a gun. And so you got to treat them as another, the bad element in society. If you don't treat a Bigfoot, I don't care if he can be the nicest one, he can smile at you, he can do whatever in the world to make you think it's going to be nice to you. But make one mistake, and he turns. And people are figuring that out. And people that feed them all the time, they've got a rude awakening coming. I made a mistake of feeding playing a Bigfoot when I first started. Putting out 2 bushel of apples every 2 weeks. And I did it for about 3 months. And then I couldn't get out there because of my job. Almost for a month. At the end of that month, I went back out there. They ran me out. And I'm not afraid of them. Never been afraid of them. But they ran me out of the woods. It's kind of hard to beat the odds of 6-1, especially when one of them's like 2 or 3 of us. So it's kind of hard to beat it. Got a question? You look like you want to ask something.
It's kind of an odd one for you. Do they have the big canine, like, fanging beaks?
The types that I've recognized, it's my own type set. Type 1, 2, and 3. Type 1, they sometimes have fangs. That's the gorilla type, chimpanzee, orang type of looking Bigfoot. Type 2 is your Cro-Magnon. They usually don't have a thing. They look like a human being, but the old, what we used to look like a long time ago. And, or at least what science says we used to look like. Type 3 is the human type. They typically have just big teeth like we, their teeth are like double R's. And they got fangs like we do. But they're inside the mouth. But then you run into the type what I call a gutway, which is a type 4. They got them fangs just stick out here and they got a little poofy mouth. And they're opportunistic human hunters. If they get the opportunity to kill you without getting harmed, they'll do it. You're just meat to them. Then you got the type 5s, ones that look like demons walking around with hair on them. Their faces are always mangled up. They're always scarred up because they constantly fight. They kill their own kind. They'll go in and wipe out a clan. They'll kill the big alpha of that clan, and then they'll kill the alpha female, and they'll kill the rest of the males, and then they'll do what they want to with the females that are left. And if they dare to stand up to them, they'll kill them too. They just don't care. They just like to eat meat, and they do what they want when they want. When it comes to us, they don't care if we got guns. They'll still come and kill you if they get a chance. If they think they have a chance of killing you, they're going to do it. And I've ran into the Gugway, and I've run into the Janoskwa. The Janoskwa is a type 5. And both names are Indian names that were given to them because they called them face eaters. They'll eat your face first, and then the rest of you later. They take the choicest parts, they take your eyeballs out, they'll pluck your eyeballs out and eat them for like an hors d'oeuvre, and eat your heart, your liver, and then they'll eat the rest of it. Janoskwa will just start chewing on it, they don't care. And those types have upper fangs and lower fangs, and they may stick out from the top and they may stick out from the bottom. But you can always tell them by their face is always contorted. They might have a lazy eye, but the reason it's lazy, they got scars down their face because they fought other Bigfoot. And they're bad. And the bad thing is, not too far from here is where I ran into it in hospital.
Yeah.
So I went one time.
How'd you get out of that?
A very high-powered rifle. Things like that happen. I mean, you go in to help somebody, and you have to not only protect them, but you got to try to save your own life. What you got to do is what you got to do. And I tell people, if you run into something like that, you need to just tell people you need to move now. Leave now, come back and get your stuff with about 20 friends, and have of them loaded for bear. And just leave them. Just let them have that area until they leave. They're very nomadic. The Janoskwa are very nomadic. There's not a large number of them across the lower 48 and Canada and down into Mexico. There's not a lot. If there's a million population of Bigfoot in the U.S., and that's my estimate, it's a million here in the U.S. of Bigfoot. You got another million and a half in Canada because there's so much places for them to go and hide. Mexico, you still got probably 250,000 or more. So, out of all that population, there might be 1% that are Janoskwa, and maybe a 0.5% or another percent that are Gugway type. They're not a lot of them, but all of them move around. They might be in Canada today, and come Monday or Tuesday, they might be down in Minnesota or Michigan or Wisconsin or in Montana or somewhere like that. So yeah, there's enough of them around that can cause us trouble.
Have any questions?
No, I was just staring outside because, there's so many wonders out in the world that people just can't explain.
That's for sure. All right, well, I want to thank you for your hospitality since we've been here.
Our pleasure.
It's great going out with you last time, man. It was awesome.
And I'll try to teach you that call.
Yeah.
Albert, I'll try to teach you.
That was a non-aggressive call, right?
That was non-aggression.
Okay, yeah.
Could have followed him.
Well, at least he didn't do like my buddy did the first time I did a howl, but I did an aggressive howl with him. He was standing right beside me like we were last night. He jumped 3 feet to the right.
Yeah, I thought he would have ran.
It was cool. Yeah, 5 minutes later they was coming in. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were there to see what we were doing.
That was cool.
It wouldn't have been for all the mosquitoes, we'd probably stayed a little bit longer.
Yeah. Okay, well I know my viewers will appreciate you coming on. And,
Anytime.
all right, guys, that's it for this one, and I'll catch you on the next one.